Today we're going to have a quick look at client lists. Client lists is an important feature of your practice management database as it allows you to query information about your clients as well as identify any gaps that you may have in your database. So under Advanced Applications, under the Reporting nodule, double-click to open up your client lists. Once we've repositioned our client selector, let's have a look at what we've got on this screen. Initially, my client list has opened up at a filter named _default, which I've ensured doesn't have actually any other person's filter criteria. So it's a clean slate each time anybody comes in here. Additionally, over here on the left-hand side, expanding the nodules next to Client, CRM, and Matter, you will find all of the fields and sub-consoles that you have under your client console and everything in the navigation panel on the left-hand side within there, including the fields and the actual subsequent drop-down values or data contained within those fields. Now you will use this information to select and to build filter criteria over here on the right-hand side. Additionally, at the bottom, you've got the unique ability to be able to tell the program how to sort the data once you've returned an actual list, and here I've chosen to sort by sort name. Before we begin building filter criteria to produce a list out of the database, it is important that we understand what the termination policy and client management is within the practice. Now, most of the time you'll just be wanting to produce lists about your current clients. So we'll always want to make sure that we actually don't include terminated or lost clients in reports that we produce or lists that we produce. So here on the left-hand side, I'm going to select termination date, and using the values that I have available, I'm going to say date not set and select OK. So what I've done now is I've just formed the very basis of a filter selection saying, all right, I'm going to produce a list, but only where I have current clients because there is no termination date supplied. So additionally, some further filter criteria to produce the list. I may want to look at some marketing values, specifically about newsletters. Now, newsletters in this database happens to be a multiple instance field. So what that means is that there can be more than one value attached to the clients. Okay. So let's have a look. We can say is, and by doing so we actually get to see all of the actual values that are available for newsletters. Okay. Now let's say, for example, I just want to actually produce a list showing me all of the clients that actually have values under newsletters. So I'll say that it exists. I'll go OK. I'll need to actually, before I produce this report, actually tell the system what the output fields are of the actual report or the database list. So we'll come up here to Fields. I already have sort name, so I'll expand Client and I'll come to Marketing and I'll double click on Newsletters to bring this over to the right hand side and then produce the report by clicking on the data sheet. Now you can see by the actual list that has been produced out of the system, I actually have a number of clients that are showing up on multiple rows. And the reason for that is these are the clients that have more than one instance for that particular field. And the system won't, select and create a new column for itself. So it just supplies that information on a unique row. Okay. Now let's look at changing this list so that we're only going to concentrate on one of the values. Coming back to my filter selection, instead of saying exists, I will come in and I will select wealth. So basically, give me a list out of the database, the clients that are current clients, and do subscribe to receiving a wealth newsletter from us, and we can run this list. Okay, so that's where we're specifically asking for certain information and drilling down to find the information that's required. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce a filter criteria where I'm looking for gaps of information in the system. So again, I'm going to change the filter criterion. So using the delete button on my keyboard, I'll just delete what I have highlighted here. I can leave this filter here where the termination date's not set, and I want to specifically find where I have individuals where my date of birth field has not been filled out, and this is important information because it does flow into our tax return data. So let's build a filter around that. Again, expanding the plus next to client and then expanding attributes, I should find my date of birth field here, and I can double click this and actually say now that the date is not set. So again, I'm looking for gaps where I don't have a value, but specifically I do want to actually find where it is for individuals. So to do that, I will actually come in here and I will actually select individuals. So now my filter is saying, well, give me a list of all of the individuals that are current clients and who don't have a date of birth. Then I need to change my fields again, remove this, and I can just leave that and produce the list. So these will be the client records that I actually have to go into the system and find their date of birth data and populate that. So that's updating. Now I might actually want to keep this client list because it's important for me to actually perform this type of a query against my database on a semi-regular basis, just to ensure that I'm not actually getting any gaps in my data. So how do we save this filter? Okay, there are two places that we can save this. If I click on, make sure that my focus over here is just save selection in the public list, and then I go save as, it will save this filter criteria in the public list, and that makes it available for everybody in your database. Now you may want to do that. That also means anybody can come in here and change this filter criteria. So you may like to consider actually putting this in your own private list, which means it's only available for yourself, and then change the name of the report so that you can identify this. So I might just put my initials in here so I can tell that it's mine, and it will be birth. Okay, lovely. So now, when I look at all of the reports available, I can see a complete list of reports that are held within the private listing, my own private listing. I've identified that by just putting LC, or I could number that as well. And the remainder of the reports are just saved within the public listing. Now, the biggest thing about client selection and building client lists is that you cannot break it. So I would always suggest come in here and practice building filter criteria, producing lists and getting proficient on that, and you seriously are not hurting your data or even breaking it. You simply can't go wrong. I hope you've enjoyed that, and dive in and learn about producing client lists. Thank you.